Hello and welcome to my channel. Classy French pronunciation there. If you're a returning viewer, welcome back. It's great to have you here. If you're a first-time viewer, please do stick around. So, what are we talking about today? Glad you asked. We're going to be looking at The Complete Jack the Ripper by Donald Rumbelow. Okay, now, before we get onto the book itself, a quick bit of history on why I decided to read this book in the first place about Jack the Ripper. Okay, so I decided to do some research on Jack the Ripper after going to Whitechapel myself. I'll set the scene. It was a dark, freezing cold night, a dark, freezing cold August night in London. My friends and I had taken a rickshaw over to the East End, and we had decided to visit the Ten Bells pub. Now, the Ten Bells pub, if you know anything about Jack the Ripper, the mythology, you'll know that it is a pub which is inextricably linked with Jack the Ripper. Some of his victims are thought to have drunk there. I think one of them, I don't remember the name, is thought to have drunk there just before he murdered her. And it's quite probable that all of his victims drank there at some point. Jack the Ripper himself may well have drank in the Ten Bells pub. So anyway, it's inextricably linked into Ripper lore. And when myself and my friends entered, the first thing I said to the barwoman was, the barmaid, was, well, it's so great to be in this pub. It's so steeped in atmosphere. It's such a historic place. It's inextricably linked with Ripper lore. And she said, that's all very nice, but what do you want to drink? And I said, yeah, I'll tell you in a minute. But first of all, I'm just saying how atmospheric it is in here. It's just incredible. And she said, yes, but what do you want to drink? So I said, look, I'll tell you in a minute. But anyway, to make a long story short, I got kicked out of the pub. But the whole thing got me thinking about Jack the Ripper. And so I chose this book. Now, the reason I chose this book by Donald Rumbelow is because I'd previously seen Donald Rumbelow on a podcast. I'm terribly sorry, I don't remember the name of the podcast, but I thought he was a very, very good guest. I thought he was very interesting, and I thought his take on Jack the Ripper was very interesting. So I decided to take a look at this book. Full disclosure, I've only read 2 books on Jack the Ripper, and this is one of them, so this is another reason why I chose to review this book. Anyway, I'm recommending. I do wholeheartedly recommend this book because it is a very, very comprehensive book about Jack the Ripper. As I'm sure you know, Jack the Ripper has become a cottage industry. There are people who are, heavily into researching Jack the Ripper and all things Jack the Ripper, and these people are often termed as Ripperologists, rightly or wrongly. And, there are so many books around about Jack the Ripper. Some of them purport to tell us, the public, who Jack the Ripper was. And this book is nice because Donald Rumbelow gives us a very, very comprehensive picture of the whole thing from start to finish. He gives a very, very good picture of the East End as it was, the investigation, the victims, how each of the murders, who the suspects were, and so on and so forth. He goes into every detail about the case from start to finish, or the cases from start to finish. And it's a very, very good book because it's very, very comprehensive. You don't have to be a Ripperologist, or you don't have to be well versed in Jack the Ripper to appreciate this book. You can be just like a casual reader like I am of this topic, but I'm certainly not a Ripperologist, and I'm certainly not massively interested in the case of Jack the Ripper itself. This book, I'm recommending this book because it's a good read. It's a good read, and it's a good read on the case of Jack the Ripper. As I say, it's very, very comprehensive, and there's no agenda here as well. Donald Rumbelow doesn't try to push any of his own theories onto people. He doesn't try to say, okay, I've got the secret. I know who Jack the Ripper was because I did this research, blah, blah, blah. It's not like that at all. I found this book to be very, very, I would say, very balanced, very, very engaging, very well written. So if you're not crazy about Jack the Ripper, the cases of Jack the Ripper, and, you want to read one book which will give you a good overview of everything, I would definitely recommend this. That's not to say that this book is superficial in any way. It's absolutely not. Everything is covered, in my opinion, in a great deal of detail and a great deal of depth. As far as who Jack the Ripper was, I mean, I'm just going off on a tangent here. I personally don't think that we will ever know who Jack the Ripper actually was. I mean, that's my opinion. And opinions, as they say, are like Ferraris. Everyone's got one. And my opinion is that we'll never know who Jack the Ripper was. Too much time has passed since 1888, and also a lot of primary material that was collected by the police during the investigation into Jack the Ripper has been lost. Some of it, I think, was destroyed some of it was destroyed accidentally. I think it was in storage and it was destroyed. Some of it was lost, I think, when Scotland Yard relocated premises. And some material was simply just taken home by various people. You know, they took various bits and pieces. So it's quite possible that there were some interesting clues or some interesting primary material that would give us in the modern day a better idea of who Jack the Ripper might have been, but we'll never know because as I say, the primary material is not complete. Also, in my opinion, and again, my opinion, I don't think it really matters who Jack the Ripper was. Jack the Ripper would certainly have been not, you know, there's this kind of image we have of Jack the Ripper in movies and stuff. You know, he's this, you know, mysterious man, you know, elegantly dressed, you know, the black top hat, a black cloak, a black medical bag. In my opinion, and I've got to stop saying in my opinion, I think Jack the Ripper would actually have been just some nondescript little nobody. Certainly, he would have had to have known the area in which the crimes were committed, because all of the crimes were committed in a very, very small locale. They were all very near to each other. And I think that he would have had to have known the area. Otherwise, he would most probably have been caught. Because as the murders increased, the police increased their presence. So if you didn't know the area, you would have been, well, stuffed, really. He would also have had to have been able to fit in that area. It was a very poor area, a very rough area. So in my opinion, I have to go again, I think that a man, you know, dressed like a gentleman, you know, as they like to portray him, you know, with all the top hat and everything, like a really kind of like, almost like a kind of movie villain type thing. I think anyone like that would have stood out a mile. And I don't believe that Jack the Ripper would have stood out. I mean, I might be wrong. For all I know, he used to go around wearing high heels, you know, a really, really short, really tight PVC miniskirt. He might have ridden around on a goat while reciting the works of Shakespeare in Swahili, accompanied by the London Philharmonic Orchestra. I don't know. But personally, I don't think that he would have stood out at all. And I think, honestly, that we generally would probably be quite meh if we knew who Jack the Ripper was, because he would have been just, as I say, some grubby little creep. I mean, yeah, sometimes you see TV programs where they try to, you know, where they get some forensic expert to give a profile of Jack the Ripper, and they just say like general stuff, you know, like, yes, well, he most probably had a hatred of women, really. So you think that an individual, a man who butchered 5 women mercilessly in cold blood, you think he might have had a problem with women? Fascinating revelation. Any other revelations? Did he eat? Did he sleep? Did he have to breathe oxygen to survive? Tell us more. So, okay, I'm being a bit facetious, but the point is that I think that, you know, a lot of these profiles are just very, very general. You know, if you're interested in criminology or true crime at all, you could probably do just as good a profile yourself. So anyway, that's all I've got for you this time, but I'll be back soon with another video. And in the meantime, I heartily suggest that you may like to like and subscribe. Anything to help the algorithm, okay? So, if you made it to the end of the video, I salute you. And here we have again, The Complete Jack the Ripper by Donald Rumbelow. If you're interested, pick up a copy. Heartily recommended. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.